General Webb, I'd like to start with you. I was at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico last week, and as you know, the proud airmen at Cannon and the community there in Clovis provide significant contributions to our national security, both in terms of the incredible personnel and also the aircraft that they operate. And they do this despite really what has become an insatiable demand being placed on our special forces and their families by extension. You mentioned in your testimony that AFSOC is working to meet a 1 to 2 deployment to dwell for active force, which means 2 months at home for every 1 month deployed. Can you elaborate a little bit on why that deployment to dwell ratio is so critical to the long-term health of special forces and what progress still needs to be made in that area?
Well, Senator, thank you for the steadfast support to our air commandos out on the plains of eastern New Mexico. The deploy to dwell ratio for AFSOC stands at, I have 12% of my force that is below a 1 to 2 dwell. I have none that are below 1 to 1 at this point, but the demands of multiple deployments back to back at this stage in the ongoing counter-violent extremist type of fight, it is not a rare exception at all for airmen to be on their 12th or 13th, 14th deployment, including those at Cannon Air Force Base. So the POTF program and the Comprehensive Airman Fitness Program from the Air Force side, absolutely vital and critical. One statistic I would give you, Senator, from a POTF result perspective, as we track our airmen before they go out the door and as they return, using POTF resources, we see 98% of our airmen return to ready to deploy again status within 90 days of deployment, just as a gauge of how useful that program is.
12 and 13 deployments. Have we experienced anything like that in the past?
Senator, not to my knowledge. I mean, obviously these aren't year-long deployments.
Right.
They're measured in months, but I mean, we're kind of in uncharted territory, which was really the genesis of the POTF program to begin with.
Let me ask you a little bit about high-energy lasers. I very much appreciate SOCOM's investment in high-energy lasers on the C-130 gunship, but I'm quite concerned with the sort of crawl, walk, run approach when I think we're reaching a point in the technology where we could literally jump from crawl to run. And let me tell you what I mean by that. It's my understanding that SOCOM's current plan is to demo a 4-kilowatt laser and then one in the 30-kilowatt range, which really isn't operationally relevant for SOCOM's purposes, in my understanding, and then move to a 60-kilowatt or higher device. And at that rate, the system won't be fieldable until nearly 2030, from what I understand. The technology to develop an operationally relevant laser in the 60-kilowatt range could be ready for integration and fielding, in my view, in the next 4 to 5 years. So if the technology is there, what's wrong with skipping the 30-kilowatt demo entirely and moving directly into something that can be used in the field?
Senator, on the front of this airborne high-energy laser, I would couch this as a semi-good news story. We're starting to see funding that could accelerate exactly what you're talking about. In fact, I don't disagree with your assessment at all. This presidential budget actually has money from a SOCOM and an Air Force and an OSD side, so I appreciate your continued support towards that $34 million. We're $58 million short of having a full program that would get us a 60-kilowatt laser flying on an AC-130 by FY22. That should be the goal. And so, like I said, I don't disagree with you at all, and I look forward to that.
We look forward to helping you with that goal. SOCOM is the Joint Force Proponent for Military Information Support Operations, or what we used to call PSYOPs. SOCOM's military information support teams frequently deploy to embassies around the world, help with embassy public diplomacy efforts. How are SOCOM's information operations capabilities being transformed to more effectively compete with the operational and strategic messaging challenges that we see in our adversaries today? Can you talk about that a little bit more, General Tovo?
Yes, Senator. We have invested fairly heavily in our PSYOP operators, developing new capabilities, particularly to deal in the digital space, social media analysis, and a variety of different tools that have been fielded by SOCOM that allow us to evaluate the social media space, evaluate the cyber domain, see trend analysis, where opinion is moving, and then how to potentially influence that environment with our own products. As I mentioned, we have the knowledge and the skills to operate in this domain. Much of the difficulty lies in getting
down to
the appropriate authorities and permissions to do so.
Well, and let us know what your views are and how you think those should be organized.
Senator.
Senator Sullivan, welcome. We really appreciate your interest in the committee, and the time is yours.